wish Nikki Freeman loved me more than anyone in the entire world.
Hello, my marvelous viewers. In our previous video, where we explored the ending of the recently released horror masterpiece Obsession, we took a moment to scroll through some of the comments that you all had left. And honestly, I was very excited to see how actively you all engaged in delivering your own theories related to the movie. So yes, my dear viewers, now here we are, back again to explore the One Wish Willows. What they exactly are, what their origin is, and how exactly they paved the way for the suspense throughout the movie. Once again, I'd like to thank all our viewers for not just supporting our previous video, but also actively engaging in the discourse. We have read all your comments, especially the ones where you were all sympathizing with Nikki and all the other characters who became victims of Bear's unhealthy obsession, while also debating on who's supposed to be the main villain in this movie. So considering your active engagement, we'll try to answer some of your questions while also explaining the core subject of this movie, that is, One Wish Willows. If you haven't watched our previous video yet, then make sure to go to our description box and check out the video essay so that you don't miss out on any information. And yes, we are going to give a lot of spoilers here in this video, so make sure that you have the movie watched, and I'll promise this is going to be a very rewarding experience. So without any further ado, let's start today's video. A brief outlook. So what is this movie Obsession exactly about? Superficially, we all know it's sort of a humorous take on a common trope having been implemented in many mainstream romantic novels. For instance, in our previous video, I'd given the example of a Thai romance called One Day. If I'm allowed to recapitulate the movie's plot once more, it's centered on a man who carries a silent crush on his co-worker. This prompts him to desperately make a wish so that she can stay his for just one day. At the same time, we also can't dismiss the fact that there are many horror/thriller films which have touched on unhealthy obsession and its consequences. For example, Fatal Attraction, Misery, Der Fan, Crush from 2013, etc. There's indeed a long list of such movies, and Obsession, of course, counts as one of, if not the best movies oriented around unhealthy obsession. However, this one implements an unconventional concept. Indeed, Obsession wraps itself around this same discourse of what happens when you try to exceed limits to gain your desire by presenting the story of Bear, a shy music store worker who desperately clings to a suspiciously bizarre gateway into making his childhood friend Nikki fall in love with him. However, things fall apart as he finds out that he should have been careful for what he wished for. Nevertheless, it's not just the plot structure and the concept that enhance this movie's effect on us, the fans of horror cinema. It's also because of its amazing technicalities. Like someone said under the comment section of the previous movie, this movie has some Hitchcockian aspects. If you just watched this movie and even watched or read some interviews, you must know that the director, Curry Barker himself, made an appearance in this film as the phone operator. At the same time, there are certain scenes in the movie which are outright disturbing. For example, the scene where Bear has an intimate moment with Nikki, which in reality is sexual assault, of course, because Nikki is clearly not in her authentic state of mind at all, thanks to One Wish Willow. It's not just yet another candy of some sorts. In fact, it's a mysterious gateway into the paranormal world. One Wish Willow explained. To describe One Wish Willow, it's a magical token that, according to the film's premise, grants one's wish but with disastrous consequences. It's still pretty unclear as to whether the consequences of the wish granted by One Wish Willow are always disastrous, because in that one scene where Ian asks for $1 million, we don't see any disastrous consequences take place. But, spoiler alert, maybe this is also because Ian dies later? We're definitely not sure of it, nor are we sure of what its origins are, because the film has not addressed it. However, we can figure out what One Wish Willow exactly is based on a few clues provided in the movie. We do know that rule number 1 behind using One Wish Willow is simple. With every One Wish Willow bought, you can make only one wish, not more than that. And if you want to make the Willow grant another wish of yours, you have to buy another One Wish Willow for it. But you can't tell that other Willow to reverse the effects, because One Wish Willow's effects are permanent. And for the wish to be reversed, either the desired outcome or the person who has wished for it has to die. This is why One Wish Willow can end up causing extensive damage to your life if you don't stay careful with your wishes. And this is what happens with Bear, too. One night, when Nikki jokingly asks if he has feelings for her, Bear grows nervous and turns it down. This angers Bear, who uses the same one-wish willow that he had bought for Nikki to fulfill his own unhealthy desire attached with Nikki. He desperately makes a wish that Nikki desires him more than anyone in the whole freaking world. The aftermath of this disturbing scene then proceeds to explore the themes of consent and emotional ownership, but not in a way that you would imagine. The Willow's magic mysteriously hides Nikki's true personality and replaces it with Freaky Nikki, an otherworldly entity who's insanely obsessed with Bear, to a point that she can even kill anyone who gets in their way. For example, when we see the real Nikki get disturbed in one scene, Freaky Nikki makes her constantly stab her head with a broken bottle of alcohol. If that itself wasn't chilling enough for you, then I don't think you're ready for what more is to come. But then again, that's only what happens in the case of Bear. So yeah, another interpretation does make us conclude that probably One Wish Willow is a gateway into hell and is governed by some sorts of guardian angels who are trying to punish Bear for violating a woman's boundaries. And this can be proved by how, in the climactic act, Freaky Nikki herself says, "You are the one who has wished for it." And based on what happens with Ian's silly wish for $1 million, it does look like One Wish Willow certainly follows the rules of karma, because if it's that easy to break a One Wish Willow and make a wish, then why does it take so long for Bear at the end to reverse the effects of his wish? Second thing, why is it called One Wish Willow? In traditional British folklore, willow trees are considered as symbols of grief, especially associated with unrequited love. So yes, Bear using the One Wish Willow to make his wish come true kind of employs a satire on the Petrarchan model of love. If you don't know what the Petrarchan model is, allow me to introduce you all to the world of literature. The Petrarchan model stated that love is always unrequited in nature. However, as time passed, some other poets started bringing evolution in the writing of romantic tales and poems. But this time, they opposed this ideology and said, oh, love is never unrequited in nature. You just gotta chase the woman till she has no option and finally submits, because that's what love is, if you get what I mean. Inspirations behind One Wish Willow. Do you remember the kind of videos that surface on your feed once you start having a huge crush on someone? Hey, I can help you manifest your SP. Just affirm he is mine 10 times, and here you go. That's exactly what One Wish Willow has been inspired by. When I used to have a huge crush on someone I knew since my teenage years, I used to get these videos on my feed a lot, and I remember them saying this one thing: don't become desperate while manifesting, or else you won't get your desired outcome. Funnily enough, this is what popped up in my head when I saw Bear desperately making his wish, only for the outcome to be completely dangerous. But then again, Bear is himself an evil protagonist, so I might be reaching, because let's be honest, desperation remains one of the recurring themes throughout the movie. Even during the climactic act, we see Bear becoming desperate, as if desperation is his fatal flaw. Second, how can we forget the tale of the monkey paw? In the previous video, I'd said that Barker has himself cited a Simpsons episode from the Treehouse of Horrors series as his inspiration behind crafting the tale of One Wish Willow. That is, Season 3, Episode 7, except for the fact that the magic monkey's paw granted 3 wishes, and not 1. And in both the episodes, we see the protagonists suffering from the damaging consequences of their desperate wishes. Of course, the Simpsons episode, as well as this movie, was inspired from a chilling short story from 1902 titled The Monkey's Paw. Written by W.W. Jacobs, this short story has influenced many parodies, references, and movies that focus on the "be careful what you wish for" trope. In fact, it's inspired a wealth of them, and why wouldn't it? The Monkey's Paw is really well regarded amongst a bunch of short stories, especially for the fact that it indulges in Orientalist tropes, bringing to the table a token instilled with dark magic coming from an exotic, mysterious part of the world. Like Forbes says, the One Wish Willow is, however, amusingly mundane compared to the Monkey's Paw. It's a cheap trinket and is easily accessible to anyone, and this is what makes One Wish Willow very unique. Because in other movies, we see such life-changing and reality-bending tokens as some kinds of expensive or rare treasures, which aren't easily accessible to just anyone in the world. It's wrapped in a retro packaging, sold in a regular store, and also has mass availability. Due to this exact thing, One Wish Willow, both directly and indirectly, ends up reflecting modern creepypasta trends. In addition to this, One Wish Willow is also staffed by an apathetic employee, which kind of critiques consumerism happening in modern society. So yes, One Wish Willow can be considered as this haunted Labubu-like thing which is bought by the masses. However, if you deal with the consequences, please don't expect the customer service to help you. Besides, Obsession also seems to be inspired from a Stephen King novel called Needless Things, where we see a demon sell cursed objects to the inhabitants of a small town and then ruining their lives in the most disturbing way possible. It's still unclear as to whether One Wish Willow is demonic, yet certain scenes do imply that. The distinction between real Nikki and freaky Nikki. Now that's the big elephant in the room. In the comments section, many people asked this same question. If real Nikki and freaky Nikki are actually separate individuals, especially because we see that whenever real Nikki comes out, she starts screaming and doing insane activities as to harm herself, that's actually telling a lot. It does prove that the real Nikki is aware of whatever's going on, and also what the rules of One Wish Willow are, because in one scene, she begs Bear to kill her, only for him to turn her request down. Looking at all that's happening throughout the movie, we can say that Nikki's body is the only thing that stays unchanged. It's the soul of Nikki that gets removed from the body and is then replaced with an otherworldly entity, due to which Nikki doesn't seem to act like Nikki anymore. Instead, she becomes this emotionally unstable and controlling girlfriend, kind of like a physical manifestation of Bear's own intrusive thoughts. Maybe this is how One Wish Willow is giving him karma, you know, kind of to make him taste his own medicine. This karma concept can be proven by how freaky Nikki imitates the real Nikki's love for writing, however, in a deranged manner. Before the wish is activated, we find out that Nikki is an aspiring writer, and she longed to experience love in a way that could inspire her artistry. This is why, after she's inflicted by Bear's wish, she attempts to be a storyteller this time too, however, by narrating an incestuous story of Hansel and Gretel, where Gretel dreams of molesting her brother. That scene serves dual purposes. While it showcases freaky Nikki's horrifying degree of obsession with Bear, it also showcases the real Nikki's own thoughts while she saw Bear, in a way, raping her, especially because Bear was her childhood friend. So of course, she actually saw him as a brother figure in her life. And this is why just after this scene, Nikki loses her sanity and starts harming herself in order to escape this chaos, especially because someone whom she trusted has stolen her bodily autonomy. Many have theorized that the soul of Nikki is actually transported to a mysterious world or hell, where the freaky Nikki originally belonged. Perhaps there, she either witnesses whatever is happening to her body in reality or experiences nightmarish scenes. Regardless, what the real Nikki goes through till the ending is still a subject of mystery. But yes, the story of Hansel and Gretel, as narrated by freaky Nikki, does hint at some sort of witchcraft happening. And there's indeed a possibility that One Wish Willow is actually harmless. It's just that Bear made a bad wish and distorted Nikki's sense of self, thanks to his own consuming desire, due to which One Wish Willow did agree to replace Nikki's soul with freaky Nikki, but with one condition. He has to face consequences for it. Meanwhile, the real Nikki is seeing her body get violated, so she wants it all to end, because it's a now or never for her. The correlation with cats. In our previous video too, we talked about how cats has been a recurring theme in this movie, and it's definitely inspired by this adage, curiosity kills the cat. And guess what prompts Bear to snap One Wish Willow alongside his desperation? Of course, his curiosity. First things first, the agency that sells One Wish Willow is called Tabby Cat Curiosity. Did you notice that? The agency itself is named after a cat's consuming curiosity, and that indeed proves what more we are going to see throughout the movie. Second, Bear himself says that he had a pet cat who mistakenly ate oxycodone pills, which his dead grandmother used to consume during her last days, and died thanks to its curiosity. And this is why it comes off as no surprise, seeing how the wish is reversed, because Bear overdoses on the same oxycodone pills that killed the cat, kind of drawing on the correlation of both the protagonist and the One Wish Willows with cats, especially the cat's curiosity, because not only do we see a literal cat's dead remains, but also we can conclude in some way that Bear is that cat who gets killed by his immense curiosity for a paranormal token, just to satiate his consuming hunger for something that goes beyond his reach. We still don't know what we can make out of Nikki feeding him the remains of his cats though. Whether it's just for shock value or is actually in some ways metaphorical, I'm still not sure about it. What do you think? And like I said before, cats are symbols of protection, spiritual awakening, and good fortune. So the fact that an actual cat has died at his home is, in some ways, a sign that he is inviting misfortune into his life. There's so much to think about. What happens to One Wish Willow at the end? Like I said, One Wish Willow is not entirely an evil material, which appears as a predominating subject throughout the film. It actually serves two purposes, one of being and the other of addressing the dangers of manipulating others' emotions. Plus, Bear doesn't even come off as a heroic character here. So yes, we don't see One Wish Willow get destroyed or banned or something at the end. In fact, during the climax too, Bear is seen relying on One Wish Willow. Even freaky Nikki relies on One Wish Willow so that she can control Bear's sense of self before he overdoses and the effects of the wish get reversed forever. Does that point to some kind of sequel? Well, we don't know. If the director wishes, maybe a sequel can come in the future, but if it does, I'm pretty sure that it will, for sure, explore the point of view of the victim of the story. Either way, discussing anything related to this movie so far has been quite interesting, and I'd love it if you drop your own theories about One Wish Willow in the comments below. So that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed watching this video, then don't forget to drop a like on this video and share it with your friends, please. Also, for more such marvelous videos, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to never miss any updates. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.